Hello, hello,
अच्छा सबको एक्टिव आएगी।
hello. Testing, 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 testing. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Test, test, test.
Hello. Uh, I'm testing the sound right now. Are you hearing well? You can hear me? You cannot hear me. Yeah, we're working on it. And how about now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? We have to speak and close the mic. Okay, in a few minutes, we'll be starting the conference. I request in the meantime, if you'd like to have coffee, cookies, you can have that. And in 7 minutes, we will start the conference. Dan, why did the echo? There is echo. There is echo. Okay. Testing, testing, testing. Problem in the back? No reaction in the back. Okay. It's not okay. We'll find out. I will. I'll be able to tell. Yeah. Oh, that. Well, what's the point of you? Okay. So I. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The peace and blessings of Allah. I request all the speakers to please
So if people could make sure that they move to the seating area, and I'm instructed to tell you that there's lots of seats over here to my left, your right, and they're not going to put any more chairs until the very empty chairs are already full. I'm going to do a full one when I okay. Yeah, so the song needs to climb over the sandwich. So I'll just put Worth sandwich, okay. There you go. So does that, whoops, sorry. So, okay, so it is. Later on. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Still daylight. I want to get the technicalities. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What to remind you when you're off at a couple of minutes. Good morning. Good afternoon. Need to get whenever you're ready to go. Reading into questions.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to begin with a quick announcement. We would like to acknowledge with gratitude that we are on the unceded territory of the Songhees, Wasanich, and Esquimalt nations, who have been stewards of this land for thousands of years. As is the tradition of the Andalusian, we'll begin with a quick recitation from the Holy Quran. I'll first recite the original Arabic text, and afterwards I'll share the English translation. I'll be reciting from chapter 4, verse 37, Surah An-Nisa. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واعبدوا الله ولا تشركوا به شيئا وبالوالدين إحسانا وبذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين والجار ذي القربى والجار الجنب والصاحب بالجنب وابن السبيل وما ملكت أيمانكم إن الله لا يحب من كان مختالا فخورا. The English translation is as follows. And worship Allah and associate not with Him, and show kindness to parents and to kindred, and orphans and the needy, and to the neighbor that is a kinsman, and the neighbor that is a stranger, and the companion by your side, and the wayfarer, and those whom your right hands possess. Surely Allah loves not the proud and boastful. Thank you for listening. Next, I'd like to welcome Mr. Gary Anderson, President of the Latter-day Saints, Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, to give a few welcoming remarks.
I'd like to welcome everyone to this World Religions Conference, especially the multi-faith presenters today. It's always good to be able to hear from different religions and to be able to feel what they have to say. Special thanks to Rizwan Prezera for all he does and all the others that are behind the scenes working to put this great conference together. The topic is on kindness and kinship. And I hope that we'll be able to come together and feel a spirit that might touch our hearts as we listen to the thoughts and be able to strive to become better people, better in the community, and to have the opportunity to come together as different religions to recognize we have much in common in help and bless the lives of those around us. For those that maybe are here for the first time, or maybe wanting to learn about religion, we hope that you'll also be inspired in the thoughts that come. But as we listen to this conference and take the good from it, that we might use that to bless the lives of all those people around us. We can bless families and communities and our country by those things that we do to love and support each other. I hope you enjoy this conference. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to request respected Salima, respected elder of the Sangis, to please join me on the stage. And I'd also like to request Sheila Flood to please join us on the stage to present her with an honoree.
H-O-L. Someone has listening. Good evening. My name is Salsa, given to me by my grandma from Shalimar. I welcome each and every one of you to Tama, to land. I pray that each and every one reflect. This is the second event I'm attending. I pray that we come together in unity, compassion. There's enough war in the world. There's enough unkindness, no compassion. So again, I welcome you to the Salami. I pray that we come together for Jesus and we let us claim Father, Son, Holy Spirit. This is right there, tunnel. This is right there, being God. This is your land that you created. All nations, tribes, colors, creed, races, languages reside on this earth you created. Again, I acknowledge and say, I pray that we come together with unity, harmony, understanding, equality. The greatest of these is love that you handed down to each and every one. And there is no one above the other. We are all created. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
So, thank you very much for opening this conference. Okay. I'd like to thank Joan for opening this conference in a good way. It's an important part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to request Mr. Fletcher Bennett, BMS board member, to please come to the stage and give a few welcoming remarks.
I'm here on behalf of the Victoria Multi-Faith Society. Victoria Multi-Faith Society has been in Victoria for 16 years. It's a registered charity composed of 9 board members from each of the respective traditions. Victoria. Our mission is to learn from each other, to celebrate the unity and diversity of our respective faiths, and to work together for the community and for the world. activities is holding annual devotion gatherings at the Hindu temple, information sessions on various faiths, prayers for peace, which we're having we've scheduled, and we've created an anti-racism toolkit and workshops as one of the practical things of our society. This is wonderful that we are celebrating kindness and kinship, and I look forward to us feeling as we're one family at the end of the session and learning from each other, all these wonderful speakers that we have here. Thank you.
Thank you, Fletcher. Next, I'd like to invite Councillor Karen Harper to please take the stage and please give some welcoming remarks.
Thank you. I am honored to bring greetings from the district of Saanich, which resides in the traditional territories of the Lekwungen people known as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, and the Wasanich peoples represented by the Sartlet, Akwachin, Sault, Sachem, and Malahad nations. On behalf of Mayor and Council, I am here to wish every success for today's conference, which, as we all know, the theme is kindness and kinship, which is a theme that and an action that is ever more important in our very troubled world. Saanich not only supports today's event by sending its best wishes and providing the actual facilities, the taxes, but Saanich also acknowledges at every Saanich event, it also acknowledges at every Saanich event that we are committed to celebrating the rich diversity of people in our community. And only by embracing that diversity can we enrich the lives of all people, both in our community and in the world. This conference is a part of that, creating an equitable and inclusive community and addressing this discrimination in all its forms. So again, I am honored to bring greetings on behalf of Mayor and Council, and I look forward to a great conference. Thank you.
Thank you, respected councillor. Next, I'd like to request Mr. Rizwan Pirzada, who is our regional president, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, to please take the stage and give a few welcoming remarks.
Hello again, good evening. Thank you very much for being with you once again, hosting this 18th World Religion Conference. We start with the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful. For the chair, honorable dignitaries, respected speaker, ladies and gentlemen, may peace and mercy of God and blessings be with you. It is my honor again to host this conference on behalf of our community, Ahmadiyya Muslim community worldwide, which have established this kind of peace, bringing the faith together and promote the harmony. And I'm very happy and very much thankful to all of you that you have supported the conference. And it's our honor to welcome you always, these kind of conference or an event. On behalf of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, our respected partner, Victoria Multi-Faith Society, and numerous of society here, including Dr. Ashok, and other friends, those that help us to, bring so much to gathering here. I must recognize the Sheila Flood. She's from the Victoria Multi-Faith Society, very hard worker, sitting on the left side. And I'm very happy and delighted to work with her for a number of years. It is my honor to welcome also our moderator, which I'll introduce very shortly. It seems like that, many things are resonate with her now. And she seems to enjoy these conferences. Today, our theme is, as you know, kindness and kinship. And hopefully we will be able to establish to our speaker panel that how common bond we can have and how we can have a beautiful society by providing kindness to each other. The history began in December 1986 by hosting this kind of conference, which was happened in India. That time was India in 1896, and there was 10,000 people attended the conference. Here in Victoria, first time we have held in 2006 in David Lamb Auditorium, University of Victoria. We had about 300 guests there, and that was the capacity of the David Lamb Auditorium. And Sophia Louis, the anchor of the Global TV, was the first moderator we had. And we are very happy that a number of the standard governors also chaired the conference, including Stephen Point, who lives now in Chilliwack, and I know him very well, and I'm his neighbor in Abbotsford. With the Muslim community, they started hosting intensive dialogue, which we call World Religion Conference in BC about 39 years ago. Along with our respected friends are at the forefront of interfaith dialogue in present society. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community worldwide serving humanity by providing clean water, food, medical supply, treatment, and many more in the various parts of the world or where needed. We appreciate all faiths and you, guests, showing your love to love the faith and suffering of the people's world. And we are organizing by the grace of God each year 100 of such events to share commonality. We want to promote religious tolerance and the beauties of religion. Scholars of various faiths express the beauties of their respective faith in a peaceful and friendly atmosphere of love and brotherhood. We affirm the value of interfaith interaction for educating ourselves regarding our faith and enriching our awareness of God. The interfaith concept is unifying meaning which can aid us in bringing the information of the world nearer to reality. And in the end, I must say that in the world today, there is so much unrest here, and there is so much to help people. I'll say, I have to select the word very carefully, but there are in many areas we see the unrest. And we pray to God Almighty that we can retain the peace and love for each other and care for each other and do not have a feeling for our neighbor which does not help to cure or progress. So today is our unique opportunity to get together here. In the end, again, I'm very much thankful to all of you. May God bless all of you that you come here to spend precious time. I hope that we are able to take care of you the best way possible for us. And thank you one more time for being here. So because your efforts and your cooperation means so much to me, I'd like you to recognize by giving a strong applause. Now the Councillor Karen Happen is going to take over the stage, and she's already our boss sitting on that table. She's only the one sitting here. We had a small stage, so we had to find a way to accommodate all this. So I wish we had a bigger stage. We can accommodate everyone here, but somehow the order came properly. Councillor Karen Herman was born in Maiden, Massachusetts, in USA. She moved to Saanich in 1967 with her mother and sibling. Living from university and work, she returned to live in Saanich in 2000 for job opportunity. She is married. Her interests are varied and include cycling, including the tour to Victoria, and many more activities. And she has been serving, I know, for a long time to Saanich. I'm hoping you all are very happy with her. That's what matters to all of us. At least I can say I'm very happy with her. I mean, It's kind of family, It's, you enjoy much more, when you see someone is, you can rely on it. And they have a quality that you must have to express somewhere. And this is an excellent opportunity to express, So I found it, our moderator has many qualities, and she's very humble and always willing to serve. I'm very much sure she is the best candidate as a counselor, or could be much more. I'm not going to say those words because it's not a political arena, but she's a very good counselor. So with that, we give a warm welcome to Karen Harper. You're not the sister of Stephen Harper.
No relation at all.
Totally. So thank you very much. Warm welcome to Karen Harper. Thank you very much.
I feel like I'm in an election. But trust me, I'm not. Okay, so just before we get into the actual reason that we're here, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping so that everyone understands sort of ground rules, and then we'll get right into it. So first of all, since we had a little thing happening already, if you have a phone, can you make sure you're on mute? We all have phones. Just make sure it's on mute so that when someone does whatever, it doesn't interrupt things. For anyone who needs to use the washroom during this, because we're going to be involved for the next 90 minutes or so, you're just outside the door, just a little further down there. Feel free to leave whenever you need to, and there's no particular protocol to that. In terms of, we have 10 speakers here today. Thank you everyone for being here. And so we have 8, I'm instructed we have 8 or 9 minutes. So this is the hard part of my job. I get to sort of, I don't actually have a book, but I need to make sure we stay on schedule, because otherwise we won't get to dinner, we won't get to questions. And those are both things that I think are near and dear to people's hearts. So in terms of the speakers, I have those purple question things, and on them I have 1 minute, and I have time. I'm going to stick them up here in your face, and please pay attention and try to stick to the time so that we can all move along in an appropriate way. So there is a session on the agenda for questions, but that assumes that we do move along in an appropriate way. And when we get to that point, depending on what time it is, if people want to run a little later, I can ask that question. The other thing I would say is that when you came in, each of you, all joking aside, got one of these purple things. So if you have a question that arises, if you would write it down, and if you hold it up, there are people who will come and pick them up so that when it's time for questions, they're already here, and people who are shyer don't need to go to a microphone or anything like that. It can be done in that manner. And what else? I've got some notes of my own. My handwriting's so wonderful, I can't even read my own writing. So whatever the last thing was, we're not doing. All right, so I would like, first of all, to say what an honor it is to be moderating this again for, I'm not quite sure how many times it is. I think it's 6 times now. And I always find it to be truly wonderful. And part of that is because of the information and the true feelings that are brought to this by the people who come to speak to us. So I'm going to start by introducing our first speaker, and that is Kat Balance, who's here from Baha'i. And she is a recently graduated student from UVic, who majored in Indigenous Studies and minored in Religious Studies. And as a Baha'i who believes strongly in the oneness of humanity, she feels very drawn to the multi-faith initiatives and endeavors for strong, spiritually nourished communities. So, Kat, if you could come up and speak to us, please. Thank you. And someone left their phone behind. This is another. So literally, I'll just, it's 8 or 9 minutes. Oh, is that what it's for? Okay.
Good afternoon. I would like to start by thanking the Victoria Multi-Faith Society and the Ahmadiyya community for helping to organize this event. Thanks to Saanich Councillor Karen Harper for moderating. Thank you to Elder Joan Morris for opening us up in a good way. And also to my fellow panelists, thank you for being here today. I also want to give a special thank you to Sheila and Jim Flood for inviting me to speak and for providing me with feedback and encouragement as I was preparing for this. To put it into historical context, the Baha'i faith began in Persia 180 years ago. It is an Abrahamic religion that began with a manifestation of God named Baha'u'llah. Baha'is believe that God is our creator, and Baha'u'llah is one of his messengers. Baha'is believe that God has sent messengers to humanity at various points in history, messengers such as Krishna, Buddha, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, just to name a few. Baha'is believe that Baha'u'llah is the messenger for humanity for the current age. His message is that the purpose of humanity is to contribute to an ever-advancing spiritual civilization. And this spiritual civilization is one that is united through kindness and kinship, while respecting the beauty and necessity of our diversity. It requires an understanding that we are all part of one human family. Baha'u'llah once wrote, "O son of spirit, my first counsel is this: possess a pure, kindly, and radiant heart, that thine may be a sovereignty, ancient, imperishable, and everlasting." This quote comes from one of the most cherished pieces of Baha'i scripture. It comes from a little book called The Hidden Words. Baha'u'llah received the Hidden Words, which was written in Arabic and Farsi, around 1857 to 1858, when he was in exile in Baghdad, and it is one of over 100 volumes that he wrote. Not only is this quote from one of the most beloved pieces of Baha'i scripture, it is also the first revelation found in it. Considering that it is our manifestation of God's first counsel, his first teaching, speaks to the foundational importance of kindness as a virtue that we should be striving to live by. In fact, kindness is such an important quality that it is echoed among all of the messengers of God. And as I'm sure we will learn here today, is a quality that is valued and taught in virtually every religion. It is, in a very real way, part of what makes us human. It is these threads of commonality, these uniting concepts, that are so important to remember and practice during the turbulent times such as our own, when polarization abounds and it seems as though humans can't agree on anything. As a millennial who grew up with the internet, I know all too well the phenomena of how quickly the comments section on social media posts that touch on a topic that is even mildly controversial can devolve very quickly into all manner of derogatory names and terms. And that it's a behavior that I should note happens at a far less frequent rate when interacting face to face. However, this new information age that has been brought through the internet has also made the oneness of humanity more apparent. Now, more so than ever before, we can relate to what someone is thinking and doing on the other side of the world. In such a climate, we have a greater opportunity to see how we are not so different after all. We all experience love, we all overcome fears and hardships, and we all desire a sense of belonging. That being said, it is clear that there are still a lot of kinks to work out in terms of online kindness and courtesy. We need to remember that a human being still exists on the other side of the screen. Towards this end, Abdul Baha, the son of Baha'u'llah, and the perfect exemplar of his father's teachings, offers us some sound advice. To be silent concerning the faults of others, to pray for them, and to help them through kindness to correct their faults. To look always at the good and not the bad. If a man has 10 good qualities and one bad one, to look at the 10 and forget the one. And if a man has 10 bad qualities and one good one, to forget the 10 and remember the one. Never to allow ourselves to speak one unkind word about another, even though that other may be our enemy. It is during the hard times when we mistakenly believe humanity to be separate and polarized, that kindness and intimate togetherness, or fostering a sense of kinship, is most needed. And it is perhaps also during these harder times when it can be felt the most acutely. I sometimes think about the rippling effect that a simple kindness, the everyday acts of kindness that we show without much thought, could be everything to another. Sometimes a simple smile or a nod of acknowledgement to someone that you're walking by on the street could draw them out of a deep sense of loneliness or away from feeling like they are falling off an edge. I was myself riding that edge about 7 years ago, feeling very lost, uncertain, and insecure in my physical needs, my relationships, and my overall purpose in life. It was the genuine kindness and kinship that Baha'is embodied and showed me that ultimately inspired me to declare as a Baha'i myself. They helped me feel safe, seen, and valued in a way that extends beyond the kindness shared between friends. It was a deeper expression of kindness, the kind that is shared between kin. It is this kind of kindness and deep care that comes from a deep love for humanity and a true understanding of our inherent interconnectedness. For this kindness that was shown to me, I am forever grateful. And I became a Baha'i because I too wanted to be a part of this culture of kindness, and I wanted to learn how to share that with others. I hope that one thing that we can agree on is the power of kindness as a force for good in our society. And I believe that the example of kinship that is shown here today by the various faith traditions that participate in the multi-faith community is changing our world for the better and advancing our civilization towards unity. I will leave you with one final teaching from Baha'u'llah, who lovingly encourages us to not only foster this sense of kinship through acts of kindness between individuals, but that this attitude must also extend to the relationship shared between nations. Abdul Baha, Baha'u'llah's son, said, "Put into practice the teachings of Baha'u'llah, that of kindness to all nations. Do not be content with showing friendship in words alone. Let your heart burn with loving kindness for all who may cross your path." Thank you.
And an excellent role model in terms of timing as well. Thanks so much, Pat. I just wanted to say that I thought the thoughts about an ever advancing civilization was very appropriate, and the comments about our changing society in terms of the web is also something that needs a lot of thinking about in terms of how we interact with one another. So thank you again. Our next speaker is Father Alan Durskin, who represents the Christian Anglican perspective. He is an Anglican priest who serves in the Diocese of Highlands and Inlets at St. Philip and Oak Bay, and he has served in various parishes and diocesan leadership positions in 4 dioceses in Western Canada, and done various lecturing at colleges and seminary courses. He is passionate about the intersection of spiritual life with all the major issues of our day, and believes that without sustained dialogue and deep listening around these issues, Western democracies will continue to fall prey to forces that seek to polarize and divide. So thank you so much for that, and please come up and share your thoughts with us. Father Durst.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And thank you to those that invited me. I've known Rizwan for several years and was pleased that he invited me to share today, having just moved here in the past year. So there's so many things you can say, and I can tell there's going to be a lot of overlap in what we share today on this topic of kindness and kinship. But there's so many things I could say from a Christian perspective, but perhaps it's most helpful if I start by giving an example of how kindness can save a life, in this case mine. By all accounts, about 15 years ago, I was in a good place. But beneath the surface, I was in a kind of bad way. Life circumstances and stresses had led to some health issues, and my marriage was in that stage where we were constantly in a fight or flight reality, wondering what the next criticism would be while we prepared our defenses. And then one day it changed. Well, not exactly all that needed to change changed on that one day, but it began to change. On one day, because on that day, my partner started practicing small but deliberate acts of kindness. When I would say something like, "Oh, there's a squirrel outside the window," instead of, "Huh?" while continuing to read her book or stare at her iPad, there was a deliberate turning towards, "Oh yeah, I see him too," that I noticed. Then after I burned the soup and apologized for how it tasted, there wasn't, "You were probably just watching some golf video, weren't you?" It was, "Oh, that's okay. Thanks for taking the time to make dinner." At first, I was in a kind of state of disequilibrium. Where was my sparring partner? What happened to our grudging tolerance of each other? But slowly it started rubbing off. Now I was beginning to turn towards. I began to anticipate what she might want done rather than wait for an exasperated outburst. "Are you ever gonna clean the bathroom?" Now you've heard of death by 1,000 cuts, right? Which is not just some gruesome torture. It's the way most relationships slide into mutual contempt and die. But this was restoration and healing by 1,000 small acts of kindness. And in so doing, we truly fell in love again and strengthened our relationship. Now, you might think talk of saving my life is a bit melodramatic. And it's true, my physical life wasn't in immediate danger, but my partner's kindness did save my life's meaning and purpose. And by so doing, saved our family's kinship. Of course, we still have work to do. Irritation and resentment and all of the junk of life still crop up. But somewhere my partner found the courage to live into that famous poem to love, penned by St. Paul 2,000 years ago when he wrote to the Corinthians. A poem many of us have heard at weddings, but always outside of its context. Paul is writing to people full of self-importance who are trying to stand out from one another instead of working together. instead of understanding that they need each other if they're ever going to accomplish anything worthwhile. And so he crafts this poem as a sleight of hand, as a way to show what people strive for. The big, the powerful, the spectacular, the shock and awe of looks, personality, wealth, and fame. Those things tend to separate us, make us suspicious of each other. So he says, if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains but do not have love, I am nothing. Whereas the small, discreet, hidden acts of love, he says, are things like patience, kindness, not insisting on your own way, not being irritable or resentful. These weak-sounding, non-assertive sounding actions towards someone are like a kind of magic elixir that changes the social fabric. The sleight of hand is that by personifying love, love is, he says, he's able to bypass our defenses until the penny drops. He's actually referring to God. God acts in this way, not pretentiously, not with shock and awe, but in tender kindness. And in the Christian tradition, by offering to us the person of Jesus Christ, whose love saves us when we don't deserve it. Knowing that this love isn't some impossible ideal that only the lucky get to experience, but is always there, because God is always simply with us, with the world. This gives us the path and the courage to begin to practice small acts of kindness ourselves. Christianity famously began to gather the miscreants, the slaves, the abandoned women and children into its fold. Paul claims that we're all, in some way, sisters and brothers, the body of Christ, the new body politique, founded not on duty, but on helping each other with kindness. This is a difficult path, but well practiced. Right now, in many different conflict zones in the world, people are reaching out to even their enemies, trying to mediate a way where there doesn't seem to be one. You've heard the saying, charity begins at home, but it's not meant to stay at home. Loving kindness starts at home, but Christians who are serious about their faith do not believe that the category of tribe or ethnicity, however important those are, and they are, is the ultimate human category. We do not believe ultimately in nation states, even if we have to fight for them on occasion, but in a worldwide kinship founded on Christ's kindness, founded on each of us mirroring that love in ways large and small, but mostly small. It is the practice of kindness that allows us to experience an ever-growing kinship with people who at first blush seem so very different from us, but who upon encounter have the same need to be seen, to be listened to be recognized for their common humanity as we do. Thank you very much.
Well, we continue to have great role models here in terms of the timing. Thank you very much. And I think having overlap on the question of kindness is the kind of overlap that we want to have, and the examples chosen were very illuminating and helpful. And small acts of kindness, I think, are some of the most underappreciated globally, but in fact, some of the most important, in fact, for all of us. So our next speaker, who I'm going to be asking up, is Malama Murad Haq Bati, who's going to be speaking to us about the perspective from the Islam faith. He is a missionary of Okay, and this is where my pronunciation will get a test. I apologize in advance if I get it wrong. Ahmadiyya Muslim Jama'at. He acquired his degree in Islamic theology and comparative religions in 2013, and he served in Ghana, Atlanta, Canada, and Toronto. Quite different places, I must say. Currently, he is the Imam of the mosque in Delta, and he also served in Calgary. Again, two places that are quite different. I'm sure it brings you a lot of perspective on that in that regard. And he also served in Jamaica, West Indies, as the missionary in charge. And he's recently been appointed to serve British Columbia chapters in the community based around the Batir. So if you would please come up and share your perspective, thank you very much.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I seek refuge with Allah from Satan rejected. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the ever merciful. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and respected leaders of diverse faith, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings be upon you all. Today, I stand before you to speak on a topic that transcends boundaries of faith and speaks to the very essence of our shared humanity, kindness and kinship. While these principles are deeply rooted in Islamic terminology and its teachings, their significance extends far beyond the confines of any one religion, resonating with people of all backgrounds and different beliefs. I stand before you not only as a representative of the Islamic faith, but as a humble servant of humanity, committed to fostering understanding, respect, and harmony amongst all people of background. I would like to first express my gratitude to all of you for accepting our invitation to this very event. In the world today, there is the most terrifying portrayal of Islam. And so that the fact that you have chosen to accept the invitation hosted by the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, this viewpoint certainly demonstrates your high level of tolerance and open hearts and ideologies. Kindness, the simple act of showing compassion and empathy towards others, is a universal language that knows no boundaries or barriers. It is the warmth of a smile, the gentleness of a helping hand, and the generosity of spirit that binds us together as human beings. In Islam, the holy founder of Islam, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had once said that every act of kindness is sadaqah, or charity. And kindness includes meeting your brother with a cheerful and happy face, and pouring water from your bucket into your brother's vessel. In the Holy Quran, in chapter 16, verse 91, it states, "Indeed, Allah enjoins justice and the doing of good to others, and giving like kindred, and forbids indecency and manifest evil, and wrongful transgression. It admonishes you that you may take heed." It is impossible to find such a combination of comprehensiveness in scriptures. What is more remarkable is the fact that the words of the verse are quite plain and simple and can be easily understood by a person of normal intelligence. The present verse beautifully combines all the essential qualities of a perfect law and can be broken down into three different categories. Number one, it enjoins the performance of such actions as leads to man's moral and spiritual perfection and forbids wrongdoing and indecency. Number two, it must prescribe laws which are applicable not to one particular individual or community, but to the largest number of individuals and community, every person according to his or her capacity. And lastly, number three, his teaching should be practical and easy to act upon and should not lead to deterioration in human morals and values, intellect, or civilization. It has not failed to deal properly with both the positive and negative sides of the all-important question of the moral development of man. It has enjoined justice, the doing of good to others, and kindness and between the kindred, and has forbidden indecency, manifest evil, and wrongful transgression. This very verse is the summary of the topic that we are here today for. And this verse reminds the Muslims in general, because every Friday, the second part of the sermon, this verse is recited when we have a mass congregation held once a week. And not only that, throughout the year, on the major events, for example, Eid al-Fitr, which is celebrated right after the holy month of Ramadan, this verse is also recited in the same sermon. And the Eid al-Adha sermon, which marks the sacrifice of Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him. Likewise, where there is mass gathering, this verse serves as a reminder to the Muslims on the topic of kindness and kinship. Furthermore, there are three stages of human relation that are mentioned in this very particular verse. Number one, which is adl, which is known as absolute justice. Number two, which is called ihsan in Arabic, or benevolence, to grant someone his due right. Number three, which is known as ita izul qurba, to treat others with such grace and overwhelming benevolence as one would treat one's kindred. The founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, has written extensively on this very important topic. And I would like to present some experts on the topic today. He says that what does God desire from you? That you deal equitably with all people and show kindness, even to those who have not done you any good. More importantly, you ought to love God's creation as if it were your kith and kin. In the same manner that mothers treat their children, in acts of goodness there resides a concealed element of vanity. And every so often, people tend to boast of their favors to others. But such a person who performs goodness out of spontaneous desire is like the likeness of a mother, can never be concerned for vanity. Thus, the highest level of virtue originates from one's natural yearning, like that of a mother. Then, while drawing our attention towards fulfilling the rights of others, there are two basic principles in Islam. One is the right that we do to God Almighty, which is, of course, the 5 daily prayers, the financial sacrifices, and all the other physical acts of worship. And the second part, which is also as important as the first one, which is service to humanity. Here it states that God Almighty commands that you observe justice. And greater than justice is that, despite having dispensed justice, you go beyond and show kindness. And even greater than kindness is that you show such consideration to others as if they are your loved ones, and indeed as if they are your kindred. It is worth remembering that there are just three levels. Firstly, man observes justice, that is to say, he asks for his rights in lieu of granting rights to others. Then if he advances further and moves on at the level of righteousness, then he leaves behind even that stage of showing kindness to others and displays sympathy for others with the same love which a mother shows sympathy for her child. That is to say, with a natural passion and not with the intention of being kind to others. So these are the three levels that are mentioned in this very simple verse which I recited earlier. That first one is that you observe absolute justice. Second one is that you do right, so you can also receive the rights that are due to you. And the third one, which is the highest level of benevolence, kindness, and sympathy, is just like how a mother serves the child without any recompense, without any favor that you want in the future, in the coming days. I got my 1 minute notice, so I'm going to wrap up. So this is the level that is taught to us by Islam. The beautiful teachings are mentioned through the teaching of the Holy Prophet of Islam. And here today as well, when we are celebrating the 18th conference of the World Religious Conference in Victoria, we hope that you become an ambassador of kindness and kinship and take that message back to your communities and spread love, compassion, and harmony within your community as well. Thank you very much. I hope I made it. Oh, that's my. I don't want to steal that.
I tried to do it once and I got that. Yes. Thank you so much. And that was really very interesting to hear that kindness is the universal language and it's actually embedded directly in the Islam faith. So that was really good. And the recognition of the overlap of all of our faiths, which is one of the messages that I always take when I come to these sessions, is that we all have so much in common with one another. So why do we do so much? Anyhow, that's a discussion for another time. So I next want to invite Gurdeep Singh to come up to speak to us about Sikh faith's perspective. And Gurdeep comes from a diversified background, born in Kenya, and then moved to London. So he's really been places other than Victoria, but none of those had school either. In an early age where he received his religious schooling while being associated with the temple and the many sages. He has been a prominent part of the Sikh community and has also been religiously and politically active in London before moving to Victoria 9 years ago. He's traveled to 5 continents and his experiences allowed him to be an open-minded and a free thinker. Welcome, Gurdeep.
Thank you. My thanks to the organizers, to the First Nations, and all the speakers before and after me, and Karen here, the moderator, and the audience. First of all, the salutation of the Khalsa that I'm going to share with you is Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I see that the kinship is not there. Let's greet Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh, meaning the Khalsa belongs to the Lord, for he is ever victorious and victory belongs to him. I'm a little disappointed with my brother here organizing this event. I see that he didn't put up a seat here for the Lord itself, but he got all the seats for the speakers. Anybody in the audience know where the Lord is sitting? Anybody? He's everywhere. Okay. The fingers were going around. Thank you very much. Let's bring a laughter to our faces. Happiness, because we are talking about kindness, which should always bring happiness amongst us. Kinship, that's why I said let's greet everybody, because that's what kinship is all about. So the Sikhism, the basic of Sikhism is, it's only religion that the first is not a letter, it's a numeric, where all the scriptures begin, meaning one. We all understand the power of one, but we keep on forgetting the power of one. If we were all in oneness, there will be kindness automatically, there will be kinship automatically. We don't have to ask it, we don't have to request for it. It is there. So the Khalsa has basic 3 principles. Meditate on the name of the Lord, honest living, earnings, and sharing with others. These are basic 3 principles, fundamental 3 principles of the Sikh. Naam japna, kirt karna, van shakna. Then there are 5 virtues and the 5 vices we keep on forgetting. We need to remember them always. It is those 5 virtues that will bring the compassion within us. Where the compassion in the books and in the volume written has no significance. We can open the university. We can teach compassion. When does it become so important? It is when you live it. All these teachings is about thyself. It's not about you, it is about thyself. If you understand deeply, till I exist, the world exists. The day I do not exist, nothing exists. So now let us come back to the power of one and understanding what is the significance. We talk about God, we talk about He's one, but we're not one. We're different, right? Being different, does it make unkind? That brings us hatred. Oh, you're different. I don't want to know you. Is it the no kinship and all that? So we need to understand those basics. When we talk about God, when Guru Nanak talks about God, he talks about nobody's seen him, but what are his attributes? He is truthful. He is creator. He is fearless. He hates none. But it is with the blessings of the Guru you can get to him. And that those basic fundamental laws, and we call that Mool Mantar. The Mool means the root. And when we forget our roots, you know, when I was thinking about the kinship, who are our first teachers who teach us about kinship? It's our parents, our elder peers, brothers, sisters. Then we go to school, the teachers, the society. Then we go to the churches, temples, mosques. They teach us what kinship is all about, but in their own format. Did anybody ask what God says about kinship? We all say God is one, and if this is his creation, and he decides to create somebody different, and he said, I am one and you are part of me, none the other. But when we become the other, is the numeric sitting right next to one is two, which is what? Duality. That's why we are separated from ourselves, from the universe, from the God, from the power itself. We are separated in the duality. We are lost in this bewilderment. But if we were focused and if we were rooted to the one, and we stayed the oneness within us, I mean, the time is not enough to give analogies of the power of one. It is so, so significant. Just one, a husband and wife. The happiness will flourish in their house when they're both one. Different ideas, different minds, different bodies, different thoughts, different way of processing, but have accumulated everything and found a route. And in that route, they have found how we can coexist in oneness. I'm going to share with you of some of the writings. Nirdaya nahi jeet ujala, budat bude sars janjala. You have no compassion. The Lord light does not shine in you. You are drowned in the worldly entanglements. So we are trying to find that they are compassion. And those were one of the 5 virtues, which was Sat, being truthful, Santokh, being contented, Daya, being compassion, Nimrata, being humble, humility, and then the love, the pyar. And these were the 5. And part of those 5 was the compassion. It was going to come from us. It was going to come from me. Was I compassionate? Was I loving? Time is coming by. But talking about humbleness, there is so much that we can talk about, and we can speak volumes on this. Let us embrace ourselves and be useful to this world and to the humankind and be one with it, one with the nature, so we can achieve. All religions speak oneness, but we don't behave in that oneness. The fault lies within me, and I need to get corrected and get rooted back to the roots, what are taught to me by the Mother Nature, the Lord Himself, and those are the very best that we need to remember and move forward. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you very much, Judy. And I think that the message that we are one, and by sticking with the oneness that we resolve so many problems, is an extremely important message for all of us. And if I was an LGB, I apologize, but Pradeep and I were having a good conversation before the session started, so we're good friends. In any event, my next speaker is Mr. Richard Rush, who's going to be speaking to us from the Latter-day Saints perspective. Grew up in Calgary. He is married with 5 children and 7 grandchildren. My goodness. He holds several post-secondary degrees, including a Doctor of Business Administration. He served in a number of volunteer capacities over a 35-year span, working with children and youth. Most of his volunteer service over the last decade has been serving in various ecclesiastical and administrative roles within the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. He's currently the second counselor in the Victoria, BC Stake Presidency, which he'll have to explain to us. Richard's primary personal hobby is swimming, running and triathlon, and he continues to race periodically just to keep active. Please welcome Richard Rush.
If I could be so bold to say, brothers and sisters, one of our previous speakers spoke about this phrase that is sometimes used, and I think it reflects our topic today of kinship. As members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, one of our beliefs, our core tenets, is that all of us, everybody in this room, everybody in this world, are spiritually the sons and daughters of David. That we existed with him before we came here, and that this life is just a short moment in our time before we return to him. And it's this premise that I think underlies many of the principles that have been spoken of already today and that will likely continue to be spoken of about how we interact with one another and how we treat one another. And that kinship is more than just a physical or familial connection, but it is a bonding that we have as we all seek to return to be with our deity in heaven. We could, and some others are much more equipped to talk about many of the intellectual and spiritual precepts taught by those who speak on behalf of deity. But I'd like to just share a very simple thing. There is a hymn that is taught and sung often by children, but that we often will sing, and it has a line that's important to us. The line is, "As I have loved you, love one another." As followers of Jesus Christ, we follow the principle that there are 2 great commandments. The first is to love God with all of our heart, and the second is to love our neighbor as ourselves. And within this concept, neighbor and kin can probably be used interchangeably. A parable that was shared by our Lord, when he was asked, "Who is our neighbor?" was a parable known as the parable of the Good Samaritan. And it talks of an individual that was beaten and robbed and left nigh to death, and individuals that live lives that we would have thought they would be first to help passed along their way. That it was an individual that was not of that community, that would not have been expected. It's the one who stopped and helped this individual, cared for him, took him to a place that he could be safe, and ensured his long-term well-being. I think there's an opportunity for us to reflect if we have that ability to care for those that are different for us, and to put ourselves acting as our Father would have us act. In a world, as we've commented and others have commented on, it's full of conflict and strife. I think many times we forget or misplace this importance that we're all here together and in this together. We often use the word kindness or charity, but I think the better definition that we've been taught from those that are more knowledgeable and in tune than I identified that charity is a true love. And that the task on us is to let that charity be in our bowels, be in our center, to be the core of all that we do. And as we've heard, it's so easy to be distracted by difficult things. But kindness and kinship really just comes down to that pure love for one another. And I invite for you to consider, because each of you probably have thoughts of things that you could do different. Act on those, and you will have great joy, and we will find ourselves more compassionate, more caring for all of us. Thank you.
Oh. There's a fan. Okay. Sorry. So thank you very much for that, Richard. I think it's really important to remind ourselves that not only are we all one, as we've been hearing, but loving thy neighbor as thyself is a part of that oneness, and that we're in this together. And the reality is that if something happens to one of us, ultimately it's happening to all. So these are very important messages to take away from this session. I would like to call on our next speaker, who is Rabbi Matthew Konak, who's going to be speaking to us about the Jewish faith perspective. He is a teacher, spiritual counselor, and the author of Embodied Kabbalah, Jewish Mysticism for All People. He has been engaged with interfaith sharing since 2007, when he founded a Jewish-Muslim dialogue group as an undergraduate student. So I would like to welcome Matthew. Please come up.
A big thank you to everyone who has organized and helped bring us all together. In particular to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, I found out just several minutes ago that there's people who come over from Vancouver to help make this event feel good and welcoming, and it really means a lot to me, very personally. One of my teachers, Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalom, used to say, the only way to get it together is together. We're all needed as a part of this human project that we sometimes make mistakes in, but in the growth mindset, like an individual could have, we could do better, we can learn from our errors. And the only way to get it together is more than 2,000 years ago, when someone approached a sage by the name of Hillel the Elder. He challenged him, said, "Teach me everything Judaism has to say while standing on one foot." Meaning, very quickly. And Hillel said to him, "That which is hateful to you, do not do unto others. The rest is mere commentary. Now go out and learn." That's what it all comes down to. It is my historical opinion that the one constant throughout Jewish history that has never changed, never ebbed and flowed, is the necessity, the obligation to do kindness, to be a good human, to be moral, to reach out to those who are suffering. And in fact, in that same more than 2,000 years ago, there's a book called the Mishnah, which records the way to do that is to do one good deed, which will then lead to another good deed. If we're unsure where to start, just do one act of kindness. It is a formula. It creates an inertia, motivation to keep it going. Within my own faith tradition, it is not just an option, but an obligation to extend hospitality to guests, to provide food and shelter. It is a religious duty to visit someone who is sick. Often we think about morality as things that we don't do, but the things that we do to go above and beyond taking care of ourselves is a much deeper, much truer, much more generous form. So we're invited not only to avoid negative actions, but religiously obligated to comfort someone who is in grief, someone who is suffering immensely. We are obligated to help someone who is in danger. We have the capacity to come across someone who's in a situation. If there's anything we can do, it's our obligation to lend a hand and to give charity to those who are in need. This is essential. This is central to our religion. In fact, kindness is so important in Judaism that the great medieval philosopher and legal mind Maimonides said, "There is reason to be suspicious of the Jewish credentials of anyone who is cruel." And prior to him, it says in the Talmud that these three foundational qualities allow someone to be worthy of being part of the Jewish people. They are mercy, modesty, and generosity. And as we know, kindness, if it was so simple, our world would have been perfected already. But there are things that are complicated in kindness. There's a concept in Hebrew of chesed, which literally means loving kindness. And it has to do with saying yes to what someone needs. And many of us have the experience that if we say yes, and we say yes, and we say yes, pretty soon we might get burnt out. We might feel depleted. We might feel taken advantage of. And so the balance on the other side is called gevura. It means power or boundaries or strength. And only in the harmony of the yes and the no do we find what's called true kindness, or tiferet in Hebrew, and that is the balancing of compassion. Though it might sound counterintuitive, sometimes anyone who's a parent might understand this. If all we do is say yes to our children, they don't end up quite as responsible or thankful or not entitled as we would like. But if all we do is say no, what is that? Something close to abuse or cruelty? True kindness, true compassion comes from a middle ground. Giving more than we say no to, but finding a balance and a harmony between those things. As Hillel, the same sage I quoted at the beginning, says, "Im ein ani li u'she'ani le'atzmi ma'an." If I am not for myself, who will be for me? But if I am only for myself, what am I? The 20th century mystic and poet, Rabbi Abraham Isaac Cook, writes a poem called Fourfold Song, in which he describes the four songs that all of us sing. There's the song of the self, my song. Who am I? What do I sound like? How can I treat myself with the most kindness? There's the song of the people, the song of the community, the tribe. What does it look like to sing the song of those who I am connected with through kinship, through wider bonds, and know what it's like to feel joy in community's successes and to be grieved at its failures? There is the song of all humanity, and that is when we aspire toward wider horizons to hope and to pray and to work for the benefit of every single human on planet Earth. And the fourth song is the song of all existence, is when we connect to every rock and every plant and every animal and every tree, and we sing the song of the earth. It is someone who sings the song of the earth, the book says, is assured to have a place in heaven on earth. The goal of these four songs, the poem concludes, is to sing them simultaneously, to sing them in harmony with each other. That is the goal of that vision of peace and kindness. It is to honor ourselves, each as individuals, honor our communities, to connect and work and strive for the well-being of all humanity and the planet, all simultaneously. This is a tall order, but it's the reason we're here. This is the work we're doing. It is the building and the perfection of this world. In the Jewish tradition, there are various views of what the afterlife would be. And the message in that, certainly for someone like myself, is that it's not about what comes later. That if we want heaven, we build it here on earth. That is the universal goal that Judaism strives for. There is a fable that's told in many different traditions, as well as in Judaism. You might have heard it, that in hell, everyone has spoons for arms and no elbow joints, and they're in front of this enormous feast. But try as they might, they are unable to feed themselves. And in heaven, they also have spoons for arms with no elbow joints. But in heaven, they learn how to feed each other.
Thank you. I'm always very impressed that I always learn something new at these sessions. And I think that the biggest takeaway in the terms of our kindness and kinship is be a good human, help others, do one good deed because it will lead to another. Those are all very important messages to build here on earth what we want to see on a go-forward basis. So thank you. Next, I would like to call up our next speaker, who is Lasya Kohat, who is representing New Thought. She is a speaker, podcaster, activist, and coach, holding a bachelor's degree in advanced consciousness studies and is a licensed spiritual practitioner, positive intelligence coach, and integrative nutrition health coach. She's also working on her master's degree. Sounds like you're pretty busy. And is in her final year studying to become a minister of New Thought. Through the mindful, messy, and dynamic work of soul excavation, she leads busy, open-minded professionals get to the root cause of their problems so that they can make better decisions, be more successful, and achieve desired goals and intentions in their relationships, career, and health. Please welcome us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that introduction, and thank you. I would like to echo all the gratitude that has been expressed here today so far about this event and the opportunity to come together in community to celebrate each other, to learn from, to listen to, and share with each other the way we are today. So I have a quote to open up with. People are not born hating each other and wishing to cause harm. It is a learned condition. And that's from Bishop Desmond Tutu and his daughter Hope Tutu from this beautiful book called The Book of Forgiveness. And so I'm here today speaking about kindness and kinship from a New Thought perspective. And if anyone here isn't familiar with New Thought, basically there are three things that we teach. One, oneness. It's been spoken about today already several times. There's only one thing going on. Call it God, call it universe, call it source, call it spirit, creator, call it love. Whatever it is that is meaningful for you, that is the only thing there is. Two, divinity and sacredness of all. That means everyone and everything is that. Everyone and everything is God. Everyone and everything is love. Not just a little bit, not just sometimes, not just on special occasions, but all the time, all of it. And then the third thing that we teach is personal responsibility. That we create our reality. That there is no master puppeteer or entity that is outside of us that is doing anything. That we create our life experience according to how we use our minds and how we open our hearts. And so today, we've already heard reference to the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that means love and treat everyone with kindness. Not just the people that are easy to treat with kindness, not just the people that we like, not just when we feel like it, right? That means everyone. Our neighbor, our family, the people that we don't like, the people that we really, really despise. So how do we do this in a polarized world? How do we do this when there is so much divisiveness, when there is so much us versus them, when there is blaming and shaming and othering, just because someone doesn't agree with us, just because someone believes something different, just because we don't understand? Well, asking questions is one way, and then what we're talking about today is another. Kindness. Kindness, if you look it up in the dictionary, says that it's acts of generosity, consideration, helping others without expecting anything in return. But it's so much more than that, and that's what we're talking about today. It's been offered that it is a virtue. It's a way of expressing. It is inherent in our nature. It's who and what we are. And as we express the kindness that we are, the kindness in who is in front of us is resonating at the same time. We're also talking about kinship. And I love what Kat had to offer about kinship being intimate togetherness. I thought that was so beautiful. Thank you. It's also a sharing characteristics or humanity. Going back to oneness, there's only one thing. We are all it. We are unique, individualized expressions of it, but we are all one, part and parcel of the same, reflections of each other. Now, I found this quote on Facebook today, and at first thought, I thought, oh, this is kind of neat. One of the most beautiful things we can do is to help one another. Kindness doesn't cost a thing. And at face value, yeah, that seems pretty good. But really? And immediately I thought, you know what? It does cost us something. It costs us our limitations. It costs us our illusions. It costs us our perception that we are separate from each other, that we are separate from God, that there is something outside of us, that we aren't the one thing that we are talking about, the oneness that we are celebrating. When we practice kindness, when we pay this cost, this fee of letting go of our limitations, illusions, and perceptions, it's an opportunity to shift. from focusing on the negative, on the limiting, on even the seeming damaging, to accept one another, ourselves as God. Paramahansa Yogananda said, kindness is the light that dissolves all walls between souls, families, and nations. Well, here's the thing. The more we practice and express kindness with others, the more we are in alignment with who and what we truly are. And again, it doesn't matter what you call it, but when we really anchor ourselves in truth, then the truth in others resonates as well. When we remember who we are, we remember who everyone else is. Because remember, if you believe that everyone and everything is God, it doesn't mean that I can run around saying, I am God, I am love, but they aren't. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science and the author and realizer of the science of life, wrote, we cannot afford to hold personal animosities or enmities against the world or individual members of society or ourselves. Love alone can beget love. Here's the thing though, even though we're learning today from the various perspectives that are being offered, that kindness fosters kinship and that kinship inspires more kindness, kindness isn't something to be talked about, it's not something to think about, it is something to practice. It is something to express, it is something to express as. And so bear with me and indulge me please, because I would like to do something experiential with you. So I would invite you to just gently close your eyes or lower your gaze, whatever it is that feels comfortable, and bring to your mind's eye someone that you love. Someone that you love unconditionally. Someone who is easy to love. This can be a person, it can be a pet, it can be God. Whomever this beloved is, hold them in your heart and feel that love. And now, even though this might be a little unnerving and scary, I invite you to open your eyes and turn to the person next to you. Look them in the eye and repeat after me. I love you. I appreciate you. I celebrate the kindness in you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lacia. And I think it's very interesting as we hear from people from more traditional religions and from other schools of thought that basically the messages are consistently the same. So in this one, the golden rule still comes up, and kindness, and I think we all know this, being kind leads ultimately to positive results. It's really enlightened self-interest in the end if we all win, not just the person that we're kind to. So next, I would like to invite our next speaker up, that's Dr. Emily Dreisen, and she is going to be representing the metaphysical point of view. She has been at the forefront of personal and corporate change for over 30 years as a successful clinical therapist, mentor, and master certified coach to CEOs and other C-level executives, and served clients in North and South America, Australia, Asia, and Europe. Her most recent interest has been in exploring spiritual intelligence through the self-assessment tool, the SQ21 model. So please welcome Dr. Emily Dreisen.
Thank you very much. Before I address today's subject, I will give you a brief introduction into metaphysics. Better? As a metaphysician, I'm frequently asked, what is metaphysics? The term metaphysics has been around for a long time. Already the Greeks described uncommon physical phenomena. You all have heard of Socrates and Aristotle and Plato, but really metaphysics goes way back to the early Egyptians. Questions about ourselves, purpose, and meaning, including the question about God and other life in the universe, have been pondered forever by many people, including religions, philosophies, and sciences. Everyone uses the term metaphysics to describe theories beyond normal measurement and comprehension. So people often saw their ideas as matters of belief, faith, or speculation. The word metaphysics consists of two parts, meta and physics, meaning beyond or after physics. However, we now learn from quantum research, physics consists of firm matter, fine material substances, and waves. This radical change of understanding began at the end of the 19th century, when various scientists demanded logical, consistent, measurable, predictable methodologies that could be reproduced. During the past and current century, Rupert Sheldrake, Fritjof Capra, Peter Russell, Bruce Lipton, John von Neumann, John Mack, Werner Heisenberg, Buckminster Fuller, and of course Einstein, and many others made significant and unique contributions toward structuring this change. We now know that traditional physics and metaphysical science are both equally valid, and that metaphysics is, in fact, physics. Modern metaphysics incorporates complex interconnections of many scientific principles and disciplines, including psychology, mathematics, cosmology, neuroscience, parapsychology, and consciousness research. It breaks new ground that constantly expands knowledge and redefines our reality. It is a comprehensive subject beyond card reading, mediumship, meditation, psychic activities, or spiritual practices. That's why it is so difficult to define it. Here is my attempt to summarize it for you. Metaphysics is the study of the mind, energy, matter, and many unexplainable phenomena often invisible to the human eye, such as universal laws and principles, telepathy, intelligence, spirituality, and the purpose of all life, including that of animals and plants, and the entire cosmos, and love. It is exciting and stimulating. It requires a truly open mind. But most importantly, metaphysics is not about fancy words and concepts. It's about who you are as an individual, your role on this planet, your learning, and your relationship with God. One source to acquire this knowledge and personal spiritual development is the International Metaphysical Academy. Its approach is unique and personal. It provides solid spiritual education for consciousness expansion that leads to inner confidence, contentment, and purpose. One of the most common feedback of students is that they have lost their fear of the future and experience more love. Like all religions and spiritually oriented organizations, metaphysics work with the divine and focus on applied knowledge and morality. Today's subject is about kinship and kindness. Kinship is about how we are all connected, like a big family. It's about our bonds with friends and others. It's realizing that we all feel the same emotions and have the same learning, no matter where we live or what color we are. Kindness is like a superpower that helps these connections grow stronger. It's not just about being nice now and then. It's about intentionally choosing to do good and kind things. They can be small things like a smile, helping someone, offering comfort in times of distress, getting involved with a group for a good purpose, or creating a service or business that makes life a little bit better. Kindness is not merely a random act, but a deliberate choice, an intentional effort to uplift others and enjoy each other. But the small gestures, helping hand or thoughtful work, resonate deeply and strengthen our bond. And it was so beautiful as Reverend Garth explained what happened in his marriage. It is really about those small things that make all the difference. Spiritual intelligence is about decency, not about the acquisition of knowledge or formal education. Both kinship and kindness are two fundamental principles and aspects of human emotion and human connections, our belonging and empathy with our communities, and ultimately creating a safe environment for peace while respecting our individuality and free will. But how do we get there? I propose it starts with this awareness and then making a decision. If we have not done so yet, we can make it right here, right now. There is no need for it to wait for any major spiritual awakening. A few weeks ago, I took a bus to downtown Victoria. I had not been on a bus for years. I looked around at the passengers. There were all kinds of cultures and ages. Many looked tired and appeared somewhat sad. Everyone was alone, not making any contact with anyone else. Mentally and from my heart, I sent love and consolation to everyone on the bus, including the driver. Let's make today a special experience for all here when we share a meal together this evening. Say hello and acknowledge each other. We are here to learn more about being kind and to recognize and feel our connection without judgment, but with love and appreciation. Thank you, everyone, especially all the volunteers in the background. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. It's very interesting, again, to hear about the importance of interconnectedness and that kindness is a principle of the life well lived. So again, we get very similar and important messaging being reinforced from every single perspective. So I'm going to call on my next speaker to come up, which is Mr. Wayne Codling, who's going to be telling us about the Buddhism perspective. Wayne trained as a Buddhist monk at the San Francisco Zen Center in California, and has spent most of the past 30 years as a participant in the emergence of Zen in North America. Today, he lives in Victoria, so didn't have to go too far to get here, is teaching Zen Buddhism and serving individuals who want spiritual coaching. Please welcome Mr. Wayne Codling.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I do?
Yes.
She says I have to get close to the mic.
It's still closer. See, I'm
Yeah.
not wrong.
Okay.
You gotta speak right into it.
I'm a meditation teacher, basically, so I'm going to sort of process this relationship with Buddhism through that lens. The interesting thing about, and I wanted to thank all of the other speakers who've gone before me, and I'm sure the one to follow will prove that all of us in the room know about the power of kindness. I imagine every single one of us has benefited strongly and powerfully from acts of kindness. And in our own personal process of maturation, I'm sure most of you would recognize my claim that those things that have been the most beneficial influence on my own process of maturation, which of course goes on and on. But it is kindness. It's stronger than fear, stronger than even duty in some ways. So, since we all know what kindness is, it came as something of a surprise to me that if you were to take the trouble to go to the Oxford English Dictionary and look it up, you would find page after page of subtle nuance about the notion of kindness. Kindness is basically the quality and the attitude and the relationship that we learn from our kin, right? So if you have, and we understand quite well from our own experience how we are supposed to behave around our kin and what we can also expect from our kin. Just speaking quite generally, I know there's any number of exceptions, but this is just a starting point. The point is, this is our basic template for the quality that we are exploring called kindness. And it's the relationship with the notion of kinship. So if we have a wish to promote peace, wellness, harmony, all those things in our society, it follows from this maybe very ad hoc analysis that if we can expand our notions of kinship, then this power of kindness, which is how you treat your kin, will work on the larger scale, bigger than just my own life. But my own life is the only one that I have access to. Hence, the power of meditation. In meditation, you deliberately contrive a body and a mind that is open, receptive, non-judgmental, non-opinionated. And they say that you can even find a kind of a peace within all that. I wouldn't know how to handicap such a claim, but nevertheless, I expect it's true. At any rate, in the same way that we all know what kindness is, we all can experience this basic attribute of meditation, and that is when you turn your inner attention, your awareness, onto your breath and stay with it, what happens is your mind goes quiet and you develop a receptivity and an openness, which is a scaled up version of that initial template of kin and how our kin teach us this particular kind of openness and rather a specific sort of relationship. Okay. I didn't bring prepared, so I don't know how long it is I've been going on. Oh, thanks. Technology is marvelous. Okay, so it's about Buddhism. I'll say a little bit about that. Buddhism, the founder of Buddhism, the Buddha, the one who became the Buddha, what set him off in such a radical direction was his discovery of how pervasive suffering was and his tremendous need to find a way to alleviate suffering. So he left his comfortable middle-class life and he headed off, took his clothes off and headed off into the forest and did this long search. What drove it from the very beginning was the need to find the cure or the alleviation of suffering. So that's how kindness, it gets baked right into the very core of Buddhist thought, right at the very center of it. And if you put it together with ideas like everything changes all the time, then you could see how the practice of alleviating suffering becomes much more immediate, because anything is possible at any time, since everything changes all the time. So you have to allow for that, and that's one of the core aspects of how Buddhism would approach, a topic like kindness. So let me return to that basic thematic notion that I started with, that being the idea that expanding our idea of kinship will unleash the potency of kindness, since kindness is how we treat our kin. In Tibetan Buddhism, it's very common to get the advice of treating other beings, not just people, but all beings, as if you had a maternal relationship, a two-way maternal relationship. Not only was this being once at one lifetime or other, your mother, but similarly, you have been the mother. So there, right away, is a kind of archetype for Buddhist idea of kindness. And my teachers used to tell me all the time that I should pattern my behavior and my relationships after grandmother. So again, there's this sense of a very familial sort of attitude, but not a silly one, not a foolish one, very wise one. Okay, I'm 10 seconds from D-Day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's good we all have senses of humor. Yes. Phones are great until they're not great. Okay, so first of all, thank you again to Wayne. That was very helpful and interesting. And I think thinking of meditation as a tool to open receptiveness, which leads to kindness, which is directly connected to kinship, is a really helpful way to think about this topic in this context. So thank you so much again for that. Now, before we get to our final speaker, I have to hang in there for a second. I have some more housekeeping. I know we said we were having questions, but surprise, surprise, we're already at the time when we're supposed to be done with questions, even though people have been really good. Need to sort of somehow in the future figure out about transitioning from speaker to speaker and so on and so forth. In any event, I do have 3 questions up here, but they would take at least 45 minutes to get the answers to them from this group. So the reality is I don't think we're going to have questions per se, but what the comment is, and I'd be happy to help people who have these in already, is if you do have a question, if you would put your email address on the question sheet, then we will facilitate getting the answers back to you. But I can assure you, having read the first one, thinking of a council meeting, this would be an hour. So, there's if we can get email addresses for the one we already have, and for anyone who does have questions, please do hand them in, but include your email addresses. So that's a little bit of housekeeping, and now we'll move on to our very patient final speaker. So I would like to introduce Mr. Ankur Has, who's going to be speaking from the Hinduism perspective. And Ankar migrated from New Delhi and was born and brought up in the Hindu Sanatan Damari traditions. He is an active member of the Victoria Hindu Temple, and he initiated Kriya Yoga as propounded by Sri Paramahansa, and I apologize for any mispronunciation of Hindu. He is a resident of Victoria, BC. Please welcome.
Good evening, everyone.
Closer to the mic. Should just speak right out, right here.
Okay. Sorry. Good evening, everyone. I feel greatly honored to be a part of this conference, to share with you my thoughts on today's interesting and very relevant topic of kindness and kinship from the it's called the, yeah.
You need to lean into it a bit.
There, how's that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So, this topic of kindness is kinship is from the point of view of Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma. So, let me cite a Sanskrit prayer from an ancient Hindu text. Loka samastha sukhina bhavantu, which means, may all beings everywhere be happy, and may the thoughts, words, and actions of my own life contribute in some way to that happiness. This one-line prayer portrays the essence of Hindu philosophy as expounded in the Upanishads, the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, and also the teachings of so many great masters like Vivekananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, Mahatma Gandhi, and so on. Interfaith kinship is a noble pursuit that can be significantly enriched by drawing inspirations from these ancient Hindu scriptures. We can feel inspired by these in our day-to-day life, like not to shy away from doing our duties honestly and selflessly without expecting about their rewards. We should be able to ensure that everyone is treated with respect and kindness, and to see everyone in oneself and oneself in everyone. Mahatma Gandhi too believed in ahimsa, non-violence of every kind, in thought, speech, and actions. He had great regard for every faith and religion and believed in Sarodya, upliftment of the poor, the deprived, and oppressed. Let me tell you that Hinduism is not a so-called stereotype religion. Rather, it's a way of life which has the potential to bring people of different faiths under one umbrella. Unfortunately, in this age, this unity is becoming stronger and stronger. People all over the world are thinking in terms of divisions. Countries are seceding from other countries or attacking them. Races are affirming their differences from each other. There is opposition among religions, with many asserting, mine is the only one, mine is the only way. There is less thought of what we need to do for our neighbors, but more thought of what we can plunder for ourselves. Increasingly, we see people so much in confrontation with each other that competition has become more of a way of life than that of in the days of the robber barons. Yet, there is a silver lining in the dark clouds. There is a new world view coming to the fore, a view of the underlying unity of all people and things, based upon the inner realization that we are all one in kinship with God. Just like underneath each wave, which seems different in size, shape, and movement, there is a one ocean. In the spirit of Vedic Hindu philosophy, we need to build world brotherhood colonies where the spirit of kindness, compassion, selflessness, and concerns about others first exists, and where the people would come together to help each other and work in cooperation and not in competition. In our limited view, we tend to look at the things from the outside, which is like looking at the spokes of a wheel from the rim. All the spokes appear to be separate, but when you look at them from the center, you can see that they all radiate from the hub and all are integral part of it. That hub is the universal intelligence, God. And the spokes are everyone and everything in His vast creation. The world at present is building up to a real threat of mistrust, destruction, and suffering. And it is all because we have looked at the things from the outside. We desperately need an act of treaty with the understanding that we are truly all one. We must unite and work together in the process of world upheaval so that there will be an era of harmony and brotherhood all over. But the responsibility of cleansing is upon us, and hopefully it is coming. Because of these two disparate ways of looking at reality, one that sees all things as separate, and the cosmic view that sees all things as one. The more we can learn to see life as a flow of unity, the more we will be able to find what we are looking for. Happiness, love, kindness, inner peace, and feeling of kinship amongst everyone, each one amongst us on this planet. To sum up, I would like to quote another Sanskrit verse from the Maha Upanishad. I am Nijha Paraveti Ganna Lagu Jetsa Udar Charitra Nam Tu Vasudev Kutamtam. Means narrow-minded people count people as their own and others as strangers. But the magnanimous see the whole world as their family. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I think the message again that we are all as one for all the way that come, and that by seeing these connections, that will help us get to the answers that we need so desperately today. So don't want to get between people and their dinner. So just a reminder again, if you had a question, leave your email address. And anyone who's had an email already who wants to come back and leave an email address, I'll be fine too. So I'll just do a brief closing and call on our. First of all, on behalf of everyone, I want us all to say a huge thank you to our speakers this evening. Thank you. So once again, I have to say it's my honor and privilege to participate in the World Religion Conference, where we celebrate not only our diversity, but also all that we have in common. And thanks to our organizers as well. Each time I come away from this event with a sense of hope, precisely because of our kinship and our commonalities are so clear when I listen to the messages of each group. We're all fundamentally saying the same things, and our own unique twists that we're saying the same things. So I hope that all who have participated today will, through both your words and actions, promote kindness and kinship in your community and paying it forward so that in our community and our world it can become a better place. So thank you for being here today, and I'm not going to invite you up here yet because we have one more speaker. There's one to come forward, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahbub, all of you. First, we should appreciate our moderator. She deserves, appreciation. I mean, so thank you very much for doing such an awesome job. Being a speaker, we already have thanked to the moderator, so thank you all the speaker panel. I think so you all have enjoyed their speeches. My dear respected brothers and sisters, we are united here once again, and we all believe that there should be peace within us, in the world, and in our neighbors, and we all strive for that. And the Canadian has that value that no one can say that this could be denied. Everyone recognizes being gentle and humble, and your generosity exists everywhere. And do people recognize that wonderful people the Canadians are? So keeping the tradition alive. And also, I often talk about that where it would be possible to have such kind of platform other than Canada to coexist together in harmony, in peace, and listen to each other and value each other still. And you won't find that. So strong appreciation from me and from my community to you. I give strong thanks for you. Where our speakers has done an awesome job to bringing you together here. I would like to recognize Victoria Multi-Faith Society. As I said before, I am community with the sheet of her. So please stand up, for our courageous efforts, to promote harmony and peace. The both of them are here. Also recognize Dr. Ashok, he's Victoria Multi-Faith Summit Council, also have it right here, also promote his interfaith dialogue. So thank you for some of the people that you don't see it working hard in kitchen, We have a number of very sincere members of my community who dedicate for this service everywhere we go. Among them is Mubarak Chaudhry, Anwar Shah, Abdul Basit, Vikas Chima, and our youth leaders and other. I can go on with many names, and you will be saying, where is the food? So I won't go that long, but we'd like to recognize their effort. They often said to me, Rizwan, you guys are outside listening to speeches. We can't even listen to speeches, but they devote their lives to prepare the food, and as I see it, food is ready. So I thank you, all of you, and I pray for your good health and prosperity. With these notes, I'll take permission from the youth leader. Is food is ready? If the food is ready, who's going to tell me? Food is ready. Okay, on the left side is a vegetarian. Those are vegetarian, doesn't want to enjoy chicken or butter chicken. They can come to this side on the left side. And my volunteers still sitting at the table so you can sit and eat. And that's it. That's all you want to hear from me. So thank you once again, and God bless you. On the table is a small token of appreciation. Please take this envelope, and not much, but there is something. Thank you.
This one. So this one has the other story. This one is like